You can make a difference. You can give hope.
Welcome to another episode of One on One. My name is David Staal, and today I'm joined by Todd VanEk, who's the lead pastor of Christ Memorial Church, a Kids Hope USA church here in Holland, Michigan. Hi, Todd. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me here, David.
Well, we wanted to get perspective from a pastor of a church and maybe ask you some questions that all of us would really love to ask a pastor. And I'm going to start right off with this. Okay, you're busy, you have a congregation to lead, and yet you serve as a Kids Hope USA mentor. Why do you do that?
Well, I think it's the behavior. I don't think that as a lead pastor, I should ask my congregation to do anything that is not being modeled by me as the lead pastor. So that's an organizational reason, but then there's just a personal reason, and I just have a personal value to live beyond myself. I want to see the church serve the city of Holland, and I think Kids Hope just provides a very personal way that I can do that.
Well, Todd, the value of Kids Hope USA is obvious to the kids as well as to mentors. We've talked about that a lot. But tell us about the impact that Kids Hope USA has on your church.
Well, if you were to come and visit Christ Memorial, you would see that the school we're partnered with, we share the parking lot with. Oh. So it's just a natural thing. Every time I drive by it, I'm like, okay, God, when you built this church, you really had it with the school in mind. So it's just a natural way for us to live outside of ourselves. I mean, it's real interesting. The neighborhood of Christ Memorial has been changing. There's 30% of the homes in a 2-mile radius of Christ Memorial are single-parent homes. At the school we serve, over 50% of those kids are on government-subsidized breakfast and lunch.
Wow.
So that just says there's a huge need, and it's just so practical to say to our church, we can serve right here. There's needs here. Jesus Christ calls us to meet needs in the power of the kingdom, and it's just so simple to do. And we do it with what I always say, we serve with no agenda. We just serve because we're supposed to serve people. That's just the basic value we try to live out, is to serve people with no agenda.
And how do you see that then in the heartbeat of your people? Are they pretty receptive to that? Obviously, you've run a program for a while, but what about the other people in the church who are watching?
Yeah, I think that, so Kids Hope, it's really not a program for me. It is a part of who I am as a person. So if you were to sit at Kids Hope, or at Christ Memorial, you would just hear me in my sermons talk about Kids Hope. So we have a value overall in our church of mentoring. We believe that life on life is how we are called to live, that we are to have relationships, not only with our family and friends, but with people who live in our community. And Kids Hope is just a great organization that helps us live out that value of life on life.
Well, Todd, I know that we have a lot of directors who are watching this video. What advice would you give to directors as a lead pastor of a church on how they should interact with their lead pastors?
Well, I think it depends on how your lead pastor is wired. I tend to be a pretty relational person. I'm an extrovert. So Mary Ann, who's our Kids Hope director, her and I have a relationship, and she'll just pop in my office and we might take 10 minutes to talk about Kids Hope, but she's also not afraid to push me. So I would really say to directors, push your senior pastors in a very nice way. Figure out how to say, you need to model the values that we're trying to live out. It's real interesting because I just received an email from Mary Ann yesterday saying, hey, you didn't fill out your forms to mentor this year. Are you doing it or not? So I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So she's always on top of me with filling out my forms and keeping everything in order. So, and that doesn't bother me a bit. I'm I'm excited when she does it because it's just her way of saying, hey, I think you forgot, I'm here to remind you.
Okay, so you don't mind when the director leads up to you?
No, I don't. I like it. I welcome it. So.
Okay, now as far as with directors and their need to recruit, do you like to hear about their need for more mentors? Do you see it as you're in partnership with her as far as the program, or is that something where, gosh, don't bother your lead pastor too much on that issue? Tell us about recruiting and your feelings.
Well, I think that it's not Mary Ann's job to recruit. I think it's our job. Again, it goes back to the overall values of our church, and it's Mary Ann and I working together to set that up. So when Mary Ann is able to get on the platform on Sunday morning and talk about and challenge our congregation to be Kids Hope mentors, I don't see that as her job. I see that as our job. So I don't believe that that's just Mary Ann's responsibility, and if we don't accomplish the goals we have for Kids Hope mentors, it's her problem. I believe it's our problem. I believe, again, that I have to model it, that I have to communicate that, share stories of my own stories of what's happened in my mentoring. And our church really kind of has a culture of mentoring and understanding that Kids Hope is probably the #1 tool that we have to make that happen in people's lives.
Well, and you mentioned a key word there, Todd, and that's culture. And I know that in a lot of churches, that culture is and passion is fed by stories out of the Kids Hope program. Tell us about what, as a lead pastor, what kind of stories do you like to receive? Because you can't hear about everything that happens, but how would you tell people to, these are the types of stories to share with your lead pastor?
I think it's relational stories of how you're being blessed as the mentor in the relationship, and how your student is being blessed, because there's always a blessing in serving. Really, when I leave Kids Hope on Wednesday, it's a huge blessing in my life. It's one of the highlights of my week, because it just reminds me of what real life is about.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you recall a story that maybe you've shared from the pulpit on Sunday or anything like that? You know, share one with us.
So my favorite story is I mentor a student, and his name is Marcus, and he's in kindergarten. So I'm going to tell 2 stories here. So regularly when I walk in the room, all the kids are like, Marcus, 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 Todd's here, Todd's here. And they're just all excited that I'm Marcus's friend, and I'm here to hang out with Marcus. And it was interesting when we put our Kids Hope bag together, one of the things that we had at our house was this traveling trouble game, really small, you know, like for our kids when they were little in the car, and I just threw that in there.
The kind where you push it down and the...
Okay. Well, Marcus and I, when we would finish homework and stuff like that, I'd say, what do you want to do, Marcus? Play Trouble. And so every week played Trouble, almost to the point where it's like, oh no, we're going to play Trouble again. Well, when we were done at the year, I said to Marcus, you know what, Marcus, we've had such a great year, and next year we're going to talk, and then we do some stuff in the summer too. I said, but I want you to have this Trouble game just to keep us in mind. You would think that I gave that kid an Xbox 360.
Really?
He was so excited, and what it said to me was he valued the interaction that we had by playing a game, and he desired that with his siblings, or maybe with his mom or dad, and it was a huge deal to me. It was like, for me, such a simple thought, and to him it was like I gave him the world.
That's great. Well, Todd, you've heard me talk about prayer partners, and I'm not sure if you know this or not, but Kids Hope USA did a 2-year study, an outside consultant did, a 2-year study of our program, and found that the most impactful element of our program that led to a positive outcome in a student is an engaged prayer partner.
Wow.
I think it's proof that God is listening to and answering those prayers.
Yeah.
But if you could, give us some encouraging words directly to prayer partners, and then maybe some words of wisdom to mentors about the value of those prayer partners.
All right. Well, I think that my word of encouragement to prayer partners would be to stay on your mentor. So I've even had it in my own mentoring, and I try to text my prayer partner on Wednesday as I'm leaving, but boy, there's been a lot of times that I have forgotten. So I would just encourage prayer partners, maybe for them to pick up that responsibility and find out when the mentoring is, and then just to text or make a phone call and just say, hey, I want to know how it went, or even an email, and how to go this week, and what is it that I can be praying for, to be very proactive, because sometimes, you know, it's just encouraging to be like, wow, they are just all over this prayer thing, that they're, you know, tracking me down and saying, how can I pray? And that again encourages the mentor.
Right. Right. And as far as a mentor, and especially as a lead pastor and a mentor, you wouldn't be bothered by your prayer partner asking you, hey, what's going on, would you?
I think, would any Christian be bothered by anyone who texts and calls and says, how can I pray better for this situation? I would hope that wouldn't be. If prayer is a bother in our life, then we have a problem.
Right.
So no, I think that, I would welcome it.
Right. And, you know, as I said, the data shows that quite probably the most powerful part of our program are those prayer partners. So I know as a mentor, I don't ever want to try mentoring without a prayer partner.
Right. That's great. Great.
Todd, for the past few months, Kids Hope USA has been using the phrase hope is ... and having people fill in a thought after hope is. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Todd, complete the sentence. Hope is ...
I would say hope is the fuel of perseverance. So as a kid, I might have stuff going on in my house. I could have stuff going on at school. But if I have hope, I believe it's going to turn around and persevere. As a Kids Hope mentor, I'm trying to bring hope into that child's life, into the school's life, and it is what causes me to persevere in that calling that I have to be a mentor. It just keeps me focused, keeps me going, and I think it does that in the student's life too. It believes that this whole situation can work together for my good.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So thanks, Todd, for joining us today. Hopefully you picked up some great tidbits from Todd as far as the perspective of a lead pastor. And if you want, share this video with anybody else in your church, including your lead pastor, to hear the passion that Todd has for the program and to encourage your lead pastor in terms of supporting yours. Because we know this, that when there's a child who has a need and a mentor who comes along, and then a prayer partner also involved with that, a school and a church, that life will change. And when you change a life, it's no small change.